morning, enthusiasts. Leaving our favorite ironic breakfast stop this morning. I don't have a plan. That's par for the course. I think go over here. Oh man. I'm having a scratchy throat past couple days and a headache since last week. That all seems to have gone away. It's not the dreaded Rona, so I haven't been on this thing in a while. Definitely forgot to charge my headlight up, so riding without that. Not like anybody really pays attention to it anyway, but you know, it makes me feel a little bit better. See if we can explore a part of Tampa that I haven't been to in a while. Going SOG today. Attempting to conserve battery as much as possible. We'll see how far we make it before the turnaround point comes. Again, this video probably should, instead of this video, I should be making my setup video. But I think I should talk about the setup a little bit. What's good, what's bad. It is a 48 volt setup. It does have an LCD screen with the new controller. So overall, it's not a bad setup. It was like $260 with the throttle. As you can see there, I don't have the Z1 typical 3 LED throttle setup. It's oh so informative. But I do like my 48 volt setup. It's, hot nasty speed, that's great. But it does have a few issues, and mostly the issues that I have with it are battery related. And my battery is an Automan. Oh, we gotta make this light. Automan 48 volt advertises 20,000 milliamp hours, which I don't have the math in front of me, but for 18650 cells in a 48 volt configuration, you're never going to get 20,000 milliamp hours out of that combination. Not in a million years. I believe it's more around 14 or 15. I cannot remember the exact math. Yeah, sure, it's better than stock, but it's really range-wise, not that much better. So I've been on this thing now for I think 2, maybe 3 miles, and if I wick into the throttle, it will go down to 3/4. So with a one like light speed cells, the one that's the full seat where you have to relocate the controller to the bottom of the seat, that particular setup, that battery that he sells, if you're looking for range and power, that's the one you want to go for, not this one. Alright, that's cool. Remember kids, lug nuts win. But anyway, yeah, the one that Bobby sells, which I think it's Bobby. It used to be Vinyl by Bobby, and he does light speed stuff, which is awesome. I think it's the same. I'm not sure. If it isn't, I apologize. But if that's the solution you really want to go for, and I think that's like $560 some. Again, don't have it open in front of me. I couldn't tell you exactly. But if you're looking for a simple 48 volt setup, that's where you go. You spend a bit more money, but really honestly it beats, like, you know, I was really thinking about doing another 48 volt battery, either having the seat pop up or doing a frame mount and switching it on the go just for more range. But I don't think another battery like that is, you know, is it worth me spending another $140 on or $200 on? At that point I could have had a decent battery, probably based on, you know, my own impatience and everything else, and I guess also that one wasn't available from Lightspeed at the time when I did this swap, because I did it a long time ago. Also, there's really a point of diminishing returns on these bikes. Like, and this is a Z1, it's got no suspension. You could add a front suspension fork to it. The one from Super 73 is absolutely way too expensive for what it is. Would not recommend you doing that if you're at all on a budget. But you know, how much money do you really want to throw at this little rigid frame, cheap ass bike, you know? I think I should just kind of let it sit where it is. I still like it. Still a fun little bike, but you know how, you know, when is enough? I don't want to have, at the end of the day, a $3,000 Z1 when, you know, you're $600 away from something like a Sur-Ron at that point. And it's just, it gets to be ridiculous. You really have to think about what your end goals are. And I don't mind putting money into something, especially, you know, especially something a little bit cheaper to make it my own. I mean, that's cool, that's fine. That's the old school hot rodding way. But man, that's really got to think about it after a while. sidewalk for a while. I don't like being out on 45-mile-an-hour roads if I can at all avoid it. Gives me a chance to slow down and conserve some battery anyway. Honestly, you know, getting back to the whole, you know, cost versus enjoyment and everything else, and how much money you want to spend. And that's really up to you. And if you're impatient like myself, and you decided during a national pandemic, let's go ahead and order ourselves some anti-boredom stuff. Well, I got this bike in less than a week. And pretty easy to pull the trigger on it, in all honesty. Pretty easy. But these days, there's a lot more options out there, and I would always recommend, if you're gonna buy a bike, do your research, look around, give yourself an honest assessment of what you want out of mileage for it. That's one of the main reasons why I did the battery swap on this particular bike. And in reality, because the battery is not the greatest, I'm not getting that much more mileage out of it. Get a lot more speed. Like, that's wonderful. That's probably why I'm not getting the amount of mileage out of it that I think I should. But even with the wire snip on the stock controller on this thing, it was still, and beating on it, it still got the same amount of overall mileage on the 36 volt battery most of the time, which is right around 10 miles. So I am a heavier rider. I'm not too heavy, but I'm 6'3", 210 pounds. Yeah. That's what you have to take into consideration. And I probably look really goofy on this thing. I don't care. It's fun for me. Okay, let's go in the grass for her. Welcome to Port Tampa, guys. I'm really torn on the next bike that I should be saving up for. Like, do I get an Onyx? Do I get a Sur-Ron? Do I get a Huck? And I've watched real-world range tests on all of those bikes, every single one of them, and they all seem to be average rider doing low speeds around 40 miles. So that's probably about as long as I'd want to be on one of these things in one sitting anyway. I don't like being on this bike for more than about 15 miles anyway, because as many people know, the seat padding on the Z1 is what's the word I'm looking for? Just a concept, really. It's not at all anything that's will keep your butt happy. Alright, and this is why we come down here, because the last time I was here, that didn't exist. None of this existed. That was all an empty field by some railroad tracks. Even after, well, I don't know how many miles I've done, because I forgot to set my little beautiful building there. I forgot to set my little workout thing. But usually after 5 to 7 miles, like your butt just hurts. It doesn't matter where you sit on this seat. I'd say anybody over 110 pounds is going to be hurting. I don't know, what do you guys think? Now, which of the three should it be? I'd love to DIY my own, but in reality with some of these faster ones, it's gonna at least have to be registered in the state of Florida as a moped. And granted, you know, I haven't seen a cop and I could be doing 35 miles an hour on this thing right now and they probably wouldn't care, but just based on the looks of some of these bikes alone, it's, you know, you're not going to be fooling anybody. And Tampa police can be pretty strict, so excuse me. It all depends on what you're willing to risk. Great on battery today. Make a loop of Picnic Island down here. Said that it was like 7 miles away from my house one way, so we'll see. Just picked into half. We're on 1/2 and 3/4. Turn on my fitness tracker on the way back home. Suppose I should have brought my charger with me to see if there was any way to charge, just sit around for an hour and charge up a little bit. Fluttering between 1/2 and 3/4, so we're at 48 volts officially. Very light throttle, 357 watts. Not too shabby. But park down here. Down in the middle of just horrible industrial area. And not scenic at all, and this park is so beautiful. Right on the water, right at the end of the peninsula, pretty much as far down as you can go on the little dingleberry that is Tampa Bay. And I seem to find the speed bumps. Always find the speed bumps. And we'll do some pedaling. And might need a little bit of throttle. This looks ridiculous pedaling this bike. Even with the 44.2 sprocket I put on it, you look absolutely ridiculous on it. However, one thing that you will know, or you will realize quickly, is pedals open you up to riding on sidewalks in Florida and going places where you definitely wouldn't otherwise be allowed on. Like if you had a Sur-Ron and you didn't put the pedal kit on it, yeah, that'd be bad news for you. I don't know who the hell you are. Oh, it's 15 back here. Well, that works for me too. Yeah, pedals also allow you on bike trails, on mountain bike trails, and everything else here in this state. So, if that's something that interests you, and being able to cruise through a park, down on some trails, and you definitely need pedals here in Florida. One of the main reasons why I was considering a Huck as well, which is something that's kind of related to what I'm talking about, is if you have to register it as a moped here in Florida, you need a VIN. And granted, you can pretty much put windshield wipers and turn signals on a lawnmower and get it registered down here, but I just prefer not to go through the hassle. Hey, we're still at 3/4 battery. Still at 3/4 battery. Let's see where we can ride. Not get yelled at. Thought there's a little sidewalk that went down by the beach. I do want to check out some of these little huts, I guess, and see if there's any outlets in them like there were at Ballast Point. That would be super freaking handy. I'm about ready to get off this bike anyway, because I think it's been over 7 miles, and oh, I definitely hurts. You know what? I choose you. Well, looks like a good place to rest, and I don't see any outlets. Damn. Alright, I'll be back.